Hey, yo, it's Yogi Chander, and I am here with Meredith Swaim of
Hello.
Meredith's Lucky Stars. How you doing, Meredith?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Oh, I am doing most excellent, thank you. And
That's most excellent.
we had a chance to introduce ourselves right before we went live, and it was nice to meet you. And this is our first time
Aw.
really talking.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you too. I'm glad to share space and to connect on what the fuck ever we want to connect on.
Yes, definitely. Sorry, I had a little sound goof there.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's amazing. I kind of knew that when I heard you first time that we would have lots to get into, and I was like, oh, we definitely it'd be great to have her on the show. And here's my kitty, as we were talking about. What's up,
Oh
kitty?
yeah, let's see him. Them.
Oh, he just jumped past me into the window. Okay, he's hyped.
No. What kind of cat do you have?
He is. I'm not sure. He's orange, and he's
orange.
beautiful.
Oh.
He's got these orange eyes that are just beautiful.
Wow.
He's right in front of me, behind you, behind the camera. So
Dang
he'll
it.
probably come around.
Right on.
Yeah, now he's laying down, so he's gonna just kind of chill right now. What's your
Cool.
dog's name?
Daisy is
That's
my mom's dog's name, and my cat's name is Casanova. And
Casanova.
yeah, they don't really. They will cross paths every now and again. But I lived with a roommate for a few years, and she had a puppy, and Casanova just would love to play with that puppy and would tucker him out and would tucker her out. And then moving here, I moved in with my mom to save up for a plot of land, a yurt maybe. And
Nice.
so, yeah, so I'm trying to, so anyway, so they've been really not connecting in the way that I thought that they might. So I was hoping that,
Have you integrated animals before? That can be such a trick.
Not really. Casanova is so chill, and honestly, Daisy is too. But I haven't even had to worry about that or anything.
Good.
Good morning.
Good. Can you see the chat, Meredith?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. Slow Burn Shamanics are in the house. That's awesome. Thank you for being here, guys.
Yeah, I do like your hat.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually a vintage hat, and I love the color. It's like that perfect color to go with the gin chair. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it looks
that's
very
the other thing.
fancy.
My cat matches me.
Oh, you match your cat.
Exactly. That's really it. Before we get going too far, I don't want to. I'm so poor at remembering to do bios and introduce the guests properly and things like that. And
you're good.
I'm probably getting better, but I have a bio here to read for you, if I may.
You can read it. Yeah, that's cool. I'll just sit here.
No. Okay, ready? So Meredith is an evolutionary astrologer, yin yoga teacher, and sound energy worker. She started out in academia, chasing a PhD in health psychology, delving deeply into the neurological and psychological and subjective motivation behind human emotion and behavior, and found astrology during her first year of undergraduate degree and fell in love, ingesting as much of the information as possible. She enjoys assisting people with embodiment, energetic hygiene, psychic self-defense, and helping folks deprogram and detangle themselves energetically from the systems of oppression active today upon this realm, so that they can access their creation. Yeah. Love it.
Seen. Yeah, thank you for reading that.
For sure. What a message.
Aw, thanks. I do like to write. Hey, speaking of which, what is your astrology? Do you know anything about your sun, moon sign, rising sign?
Yeah, I'll tell you all about it.
Let's talk about it.
Do you feel like telling me yours too? What's your, or at least your sign?
Sure. You
What's
first. Okay, I'll go first. No, you're a Scorpio. You're a Scorpio? What's your moon sign?
Hmm?
Do you know what your moon sign is or anything like that?
I don't remember right now, but I could tell you my info and stuff if you wanted to know, and you could check it. But I have my chart probably somewhere.
Oh, no worries.
I have like 4 planets in Scorpio.
Wow. So this is a growing, like, trial by fire, like, rising from the ashes kind of a lifetime for you, huh?
Yeah, for sure. No
Like,
doubt.
I'm tired.
It's, that's the funny thing is I've always really echoed that that archetype or whatever it is. It's like, yeah, I'm living that. And, I have beliefs that there might be something other than just the sun astrology or the sun sign astrology or whatever that means something there. Like, I don't know if you know Navia Alora, but she's really into real sky astrology. And in that, I'm a Libra.
Okay, so that's like Vedic astrology or Eastern astrology?
Well, she does Mayan astrology, but she also,
Mayan
this
astrology.
is real sky. So it's like basically what you see when you look up.
Oh, interesting. Cool. So under that, you're a Libra.
Sidereal might be the actual name, if I'm not mistaken.
Very
but
cool.
So I don't really know much about that. But it's interesting because I think that's from what she told me in our discussions, it seems that resonates. But I'm total Scorpio, like total 4-planet Scorpio dude all the way.
Right. I think that they can both resonate. Like, I think in my sidereal chart, I have some aspects that speak to me, but mostly I vibe on my my Western astrology chart. Yeah, I'm a Leo, by the way, just in Western, and then in Vedic or sidereal, I'm a Cancer. Okay. Which I don't know. That does not speak to me, like, in any way, shape, or form. But never had a Vedic reading, so maybe I should try that before I talk about it.
Isn't that interesting how some people have that experience? Like, one system can ring really super true over another. What do you think that's about? Do you think it's a matter of different timelines or us coming from different places, or?
I think it could be about any number of different things. Like, I think people are incredibly individual. So, before like
Not
you
me.
before you even get here, like, that's part of, like, I think the message that I'm trying to get out is just that, like, the one size fits all, sort of blanket statement of anything just doesn't work, because we are so many different kinds of beings here. Like, I think, everybody's waiting for, like, aliens and, whatever. And we're all, alien to here, like, in my opinion. So, and then just kind of, like, knowing that we're all different soul types and races and origins and all that kind of thing, plus the experiences that we've had in the inverse in all of our past lives and in this life, like, our formative. So it's like there's so many different mirrors in our mind,
That's, you just brought up like a whole series full of shows to talk about.
Right.
Like, we didn't already have series of shows before.
I know.
Based on what we talked
definitely.
about. So how do I start? So what do you mean? What's your perspective that we're all aliens and we all have different, what did you say, cosmic origins or something?
That's exactly, like, a great way to put it. Yeah. I think that there's, like, thousands and thousands and thousands of different places that, we came from, and we all entered into here, which, like, I guess then that brings up the question, like, where are we? And, I guess for a long time, I thought we were, like, on, a spinning globe in space, but now I'm kind of thinking more that we're in some kind of, like, machine or a realm. And so when did we enter here? I think that question is different for everyone. And and so the place, like, we don't know half of, or, even like 3% of, like, the places that we could have come from, and who our, like, real soul family is. So, I mean, there's all those, like, in the Ascension material quote, there's, like, Andromedans, and there's, Pleiadians and all this kinds of stuff. But I think it's way, 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 way more vast than that. It's just my take on that, I think.
Wow. So explain, if I may, and I'll try not to interrupt too much, because I can really go off tangents and interrupt and stuff.
Same.
I can tell. That's why it's perfect. We're good. No need to apologize or anything. How do you reconcile the fact that we may not be on a spinning globe in outer space, but there may be other realms like of origin, like the Pleiadians and things like that? And
Oh
I'm not
gosh.
questioning you I'm not ever like challenging you.
No,
I'm just like
no.
curious.
Yeah, I just think that, and any answer that I have to this question, we are like in a mind controlled society. So I don't know the capital T truth. I don't have, the corner on the truth or whatever, but it's just, I guess my perspective is that we know way less about space than we think we do.
Uh-huh.
I shared an experience on Nox Mente where I met my soul family out there, and I got up and got out, and it was just like plasma or water or something along those lines. So I don't know how much space is like what, like not a space agency, NASA like shares with us that it is. I don't think that that's
Nice.
Yeah, I don't, that's, but I also, yeah, I don't know. So to answer your question, I don't really know, but I know that like, okay, like in some of my like experiences, like in active, like in projects or programs or whatever, like I have memory of people portaling from one place to another. So it's not like rockets going into outer space and flying, X miles and landing, it's a little bit different, I think. And yeah, than what we're told that it is. Huh?
Did you have a sense of that when you had that experience, or just is that kind of what you're developing now in retrospect?
Yeah, well, okay, so like for me, all of this goes back to last May, where I like started to kind of like have more memory of like my experiences in this life, under mind control, and also, in like military lab abductions and like ET scenarios that like were not glamorous at all.
Terrifying.
Right. So yeah, like so in some of those experiences, that's where I saw the portaling effect. And I think that there's ways that we can do it organically, and then there's kind of like technology that can bring people from one place to another.
Do you mean that we as like humans, or like just kind of we in this realm or something have a way
Not in this realm. No, I think that we're pretty closed off from like all of what we can do here, like, and the means of which are like, that's a long list, right? There's like the food, the air, the water, like all of this, oh my gosh, shamanics, that is so funny. That is so true. Sorry. So, yeah, but so, yeah. I don't remember where we were at or what we were talking about.
That's funny because it's so much has happened since then.
Mm-hmm. I know.
We're both there on that too.
Yeah, so I was like, whoops.
Well, portals.
Portals, right. So I think that like there's
traps, assailed.
Yeah. So I think that we could do it if we were like kind of left alone with like without any tampering, and I think that if we had access to like true access to nature, and not just nature in here, but like nature out there, I think that we could do it no problem. But I don't know if that's where we are. Like, I think that the avatar has some challenges before we're ready to get there.
I can feel that. Do you mean like out there, and the nature out there? You mean like as in the coordinates of where you want to go, kind of thing? Like out there? Is that what you mean?
I guess what I mean by like nature, so there's nature that we think of in here, like plants, and oh my gosh, that is so true. Slow burn. Time has been off this whole year.
Totally.
I have words on that for sure.
Yeah, and we were just talking about the unreality of reality lately, and what astrology means to all that, and we definitely want to touch on that later.
For sure, yeah. There's so many things.
This is fun.
But so, I guess like to answer the question that you were asking, which I just forgot. We get like memory wiped all the time, in my opinion.
Interesting.
So nature, okay, so there's like nature in here. There's like, we go to the woods, or, there's like a tree outside, or there's, I'm starting some seeds over here. There's plants. And then there's also nature out there, which to my knowledge is like what's beyond the construct. And anywhere that could be, that's not like a simulated or artificial place, is nature. I don't think that those two things are separate. And I think that nature is within too, like your true nature or your truest essence. And then, it's both within and without, I think.
Wow. I like that concept a lot.
Me too. Yeah, because lately I've been in this sort of space where I've been doing a lot of personal clearing on AI, and some of my, like prior experiences throughout the multiverse. And, I definitely, that's one thing that I've been repeating to myself over and over is like, where am I choosing nature? And not just nature, like plants, animal, but like my nature. Am I like, does this one action that I want to take or this step that I want to take align with nature, my nature, which is the same.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have, what if you're ever in doubt? What do you use to find clarity? What if you're ever in doubt about that exactly? What do you use to find clarity? I'm just curious.
I don't know. For me, it's a feeling. I think everybody has different ways that they discern information. And for me, it's like a path of least resistance kind of a thing, or where I can feel my spirit guiding me in each step that I take. And then, there's like that voice that you get where you're about to do something that you shouldn't do, or that isn't in alignment with your spirit or your highest self or your oversoul or whatever. And you can tell when you can feel like that, like, don't do it.
I did. But, that opens up a whole series of rivers or rabbit holes or whatever.
Sure.
Because if you start thinking about, the concept of the AI or perhaps an entity or something, like, so then, the discernment between that and that voice.
Yeah. And I think,
especially if you don't know that those things are present. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh gosh. Yeah. And there are so many people that don't acknowledge that those kinds of things are real,
Right.
And so they're not, I think, until you acknowledge that there are, whether you want to call them forces or controllers or whatever, like until you acknowledge that, then you can't really be sure, I think. But yeah, I think, so Slowburn said gut feeling has served me well. And I think it's different for everybody. Like, again, it just goes back to the individual and the steps that person has taken to clear their physical body, their emotional body, their mental body, their spiritual bodies. And then to what extent, I think that's the level of inner work is the level of discernment that somebody has.
Interesting. So like someone might actually carry something like that with them, an AI or entity or whatever it might be, through a series of experiences and even spiritual revelations and stuff until like the clearance actually happens for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wow. For sure. That's been my experience anyway. Like, I think I had a lot of stuff traveling with me even before I even got here, like into this lifetime. So,
wow. I don't know if I've heard anybody say that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of stuff happens pre-birth, and then at birth, there's like a lot of things that can go on in that time. I don't know if the birthing process is necessarily like what we're told that it is,
I've wondered that a lot.
Like sometimes I look at my mom and I'm like, you're not really my mom. Like, I don't really have any way to like to know that for sure. But like, I'm like, we are very different and look very different. And,
I hear you. Wow.
Crazy.
Do you think that goes back to the AI thing or something else?
I mean, gosh, yeah, I think that so in a simulation, I think most things can be traced back to artificial intelligence and matrix computer code and all of that kinds of stuff for sure. Yeah. But yeah. But then there's like the level of like interference with other beings, you know, whether you want to call them like Dracos or whatever, like, you know, that have been exerting their influence over this particular construct for eons. And yeah, I just, you know, though I do feel that something is lighter, even though I know that like shit's going weird. Like for me, I feel like there was a cap of something on my consciousness that has been lifted, or like some kind of like compression that's been released. And I don't really know exactly what that's tied to. I mean, that could be AI. I don't know, you know, we don't know.
I can identify with that. That's definitely a feeling that I've had. And I do have sometimes even still kind of a little bit, but I mean, there was a major one.
In 2018, right?
Yeah. So you must have heard my story on Nox Mente, maybe.
No, you just said that before we got on here, but I do need to watch your
sure.
Nox Mente episode.
Okay.
There's not enough time in the day to listen to all the things that I want to listen to, you know?
Oh, that's for sure. I understand that for sure. I was just kind of giving a little subliminal plug to Nox Mente out there. You got to go see that. That's where I caught Meredith for the first time. But so, okay, so I don't even remember mentioning that. But okay, yeah, that's exactly. And that when that feeling of a lack of compression, yeah, it's just like that. It's like the spine kind of just, I don't know, kind of elongates, literally, physically, it feels. And
what were you doing when that happened? Like, were you practicing like Kriya, or like were you doing like breath work, or like what was going on at the time?
So you're a yin yoga teacher. You're familiar with Kriya. Have you tried Kundalini yoga?
I do it every morning.
Wow, really? We didn't even touch on this.
Yeah, I don't really. There's a lot about Kundalini yoga that I'm like kind of like
Me too.
But I'm a big fan of not throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and there is something about the the movement with breath and the time with self, and like it, and also the chanting, like that just really gets me into a space where I feel vital and healthy, and I think that's super important these days. Like so important. You know, what are these little stations of wellness that we can have for ourselves throughout the day? And super important for me. So you were practicing Kriya when you had your
yes, and oh my gosh, and yeah, the importance of I'll promise I'll come right back to that.
Sure.
Yeah, the importance of nutrition and bodily recognition and care and stuff, and all that stuff you just mentioned and more is so important to the process for sure. But yeah, so and as far as mantra and that sort of thing, I've always had amazing experiences with that, like transformative things, time traveling things, astral travel things, and all kinds of amazing things through mantra practice and even mudra practice and things, but not Kundalini style, other things.
Right. Gotcha.
And I've been practicing something called Korodama since about 2011, I guess, and that's a lot of mantra work, basically, essentially sound meditation and stuff, which sound healing and things I know you know quite a bit about.
Sound is super important. Actually, my soul family communicates through sound and through it's interesting how much frequency and sound and vibration and wave and all of that stuff plays a role in everything.
Yes. My one and only Sweat Lodge experience with a tribe of Lakota Sioux, that was my takeaway, was vibration is the essence of everything. I didn't even know what it meant. I was too young to understand.
Totally.
Do you see a difference? Oh my gosh, I don't want to, we've got to come back to things.
Everything is sound. Yeah.
Everything is sound and goodness, like do you have a distinction between sound, frequency, vibration, those terms? Jerry's here. What's up, Cthulhu?
Not really.
Thank you.
Hey, Jerry. Good to see you. Isn't it?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I mean, maybe if I were like trying to parse it apart, I could, but I don't really. I think it's probably more complex and more simple at the same time, than we make it out to be. Like the difference between sound, vibration, frequency, I think all of those are pretty much the same. Everything is energy, in my opinion.
Sort of different shades of a color kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah, totally. And yeah, I think that's it. It kind of brings me back to what we were talking about before about space. Like, because, if everything is energy, if everything is all right here, right now on some level, assuming that time is a BS construct that we've been spelled into perceiving, right? There's like, this could be like, this is space. Like all of this is just space. Like no matter, if you zoom in far enough or zoom out far enough, it's all just space. And, the difference between, I mean, people talk about like levels or dimensions, but I kind of think that it's all here. It's all here.
Yeah, my mind is just going like crazy. That whole concept of space. I'm trying to take some notes because I got. But like space and distancing and that whole concept is that's a huge mystical concept and is very important in the martial arts from what I've understood and things too, and also medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so avocado.
I know. Oh my gosh.
I was just hungry real quick. Sound ceremony. You made me realize something just now that I had forgotten. So during that,
what is that?
Period, leading up to the Kundalini experience, I was practicing Kriya, but only for a class, or I think 2 classes. It was my second class, and prior to that, I hadn't at all. I didn't know anything about it, but I had started to see this woman, and Kundalini was a really big part of her world. And on our first date, we went to a sound ceremony, and I'd forgotten about this.
Quite a first date.
It was just magical. It was I think they were from Brazil, and they had all these crystals that they were making sound from, like crystal not a crystal didgeridoo, maybe. That seems pretty fantastical, but I think that's true. But you definitely had like wind instruments and percussion instruments, all crystals and things.
Brilliant.
It was amazing. And
Great
I forgot about
date.
that. Well, yeah, but I mean, whatever. She was a part of my journey to Kundalini. It's the only reason I mention it, and it was a thread to this. And you just made me realize that might have had something to do with what happened, because I didn't expect that Kundalini experience to happen. I just went to the class and was experiencing it for the journey, and then it did. And that decompression thing that we were talking about, my head, the lid blew off my head, kind of thing.
Totally.
And I just have to think now in retrospect, I can almost feel it, that it was probably encouraged a lot by that sound thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, whenever I'm at home or, anywhere really, I've gotten in the habit of space is fake. Well, it depends on what we consider to be space, I guess, right? I mean, because everything is space. But yeah, so I think that we were talking about frequency. Yeah, so I'll turn on Dr. Virtual 7. I don't know if you've heard of his work, but he's amazing. He's on YouTube. He puts out like subliminals and frequencies and all that kinds of interesting stuff. And so I've been really into Dr. Virtual 7.
Okay, no, I haven't. Interesting. All right.
Yeah, I love Dr. Virtual 7. So that's like something I would totally recommend that to you if you're into sound and frequency and those kinds of things. But
interesting.
Yeah, I think it's huge. It's huge in the feeling state and like just in general, like if you're trying to create harmony in your room or in your experience or in your body or whatever, like sound is pretty much medicine for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, I mean, it's obvious how the moving experiences people have through music these days, but that is kind of weaponized in a lot of ways these days, isn't it?
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, there were just like several things that like floated through my head as you said that. Like there's the like, obviously like music that we hear like on the radio or like rap music or country music or all music has like, in order to get like a record deal, I feel like you have to, sign that contract, that
Bob Dylan contract, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I think that a lot of that has been weaponized, and then also what
did you hear? Just real quick, did you hear the story about how they apparently? I can't remember which label, was it Motown? It might have been someone else that they would call in like witches to like basically enchant vinyl albums on their first printing for certain.
Wow, no, I didn't hear that, but I have like heard, or I don't know, I don't remember where I even heard this, but just like some of the things that go on, like, yeah, and like I was born in 91, so like more like, after that time when like CDs were like a big thing, like before they would make an album, they would do some kind of ritual or ceremony that was probably like not very becoming. And, and yeah, so definitely think that it's totally been weaponized. And I think as well, isn't it interesting how singing and sound is now like a super spreader behavior with everything?
Yes. I mean, that was one of the first things I thought was the muffling of sound. One of the first things.
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh, it's such everybody is being initiated right now, And
it's so, I mean, I just cannot, from the neutral strategist within me, I cannot. It's brilliant. I mean, it's so insidious, and there's almost no way to. There is no really way to actually convince anyone of anything. They've just got to, figure it out or whatever. I mean,
yeah, I mean, I think, looking into like a lot of like what the public has been put through is like, trauma-based mind control. That's like, a large part of this, in my opinion, and, the wearing of the mask, kind of like, and the muffling of sound and all of that. I mean, yeah, it's totally gross, but I don't, we're obviously going through some kind of sorting is kind of like how I see it. Like,
yeah.
Or this is some kind of like a beta test to see how people will respond,
Maybe someone spilled coffee in the holograph machine.
Right.
So I got a question then. How would you transfer your concepts and what you do with psychic self-defense? Like, what can we do on a larger scale, or what can we do against things that are on a larger scale like this individually?
Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to like take a second to think about that, because I think there's many things that we can do. The first thing that I would recommend is to like come up with some kind of like way to eliminate energy that isn't yours, that isn't your nature or your essence or whatever, like from your space. So for me, part of what I discovered as a tool at that institute that I was telling you about before we went live was like, putting like a vacuum inside of a rose outside of your field and just putting any of that stuff into the rose, and then you just explode it. So that's like one way. But you can put things into a box for another time. Like if you have something that's like coming up in your mind, or you can like, I like to use a big galactic vacuum from the galactic core.
Nice.
I just saw Jerry's.
Wasn't that there was that was Spaceballs, actually, really, wasn't it?
I've never seen Spaceballs.
Yeah,
I'm bad at movies.
Vacuum.
So one thing that's really funny about movies is that I was never, there must have been some kind of command in a movie, because I would always fall asleep, like right on cue. Like I've only been able to really like watch movies like fully and like sit there and be there and watch them since May, of last year, but I would always fall asleep. And
me too.
In the theater. Really? Do you ever fall asleep in the movie theater?
I didn't fall asleep in the movie theater as much as I would just check out at some point. Right. And it'd be like losing your place while you're reading a book.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. You have to reread the page. It was like the same thing, only I couldn't reread the movie.
Yeah. So anyway, galactic vacuum, super effective. I think if you can see it, it exists. Like, visualization is something that I find to be really helpful. So if you can see something clearing, and one thing that I found with the mind virus, or whatever you want to call it specifically, is that it is sort of like an AI parasite that kind of takes over the brain mostly. I mean, Corona, Crown, it's like all there,
For sure. And I was want to talk about that too, because I think that the whole AI tie to things is a lot like in tying to the mind virus and things.
Yeah.
It's all very similar. I've for a long time, I did just a little bit of coding and
Cool.
computer information stuff some time ago, but it gave me the knowledge that it's not like writing code is a lot like writing a spell scroll for a wizard, it seemed like.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really easy to kind of make the correlation between like antivirus software and hardware systems within ourselves and rebooting those things. And
oh yeah.
And now I think it's even more tangible than I actually understood in the past, is that I think that you actually do have to, it's a lot like a virus on your computer. And to this date, I've never had a virus on any computer, ever.
Woohoo! Knock on wood.
I did. And I'm not saying that I won't or whatever, but it's just, I think it has a lot to do with what you click on.
What you click on, or like what you, I mean, we can be super programmable, we can be programmable, we can program ourselves, or we can be programmed. So, I mean, yeah, I've definitely, like, to your point, I've cleared a lot of like if-then statements out of my field at times. So yeah, definitely. I think that comes up, or like, 01111000111, all of that. You can pull those kinds of things out of your energy field as well.
Wow, I get you. That's really fascinating.
It is, yeah. And then I think too, like with everything that's artificial that you release, you actually get back like your nature, your essence. So I think
it's like kind of making room for that to come back in, sort of thing.
Yes, totally. Nature abhors a vacuum, or whatever, all that. Totally.
Wow. Okay, so do you think that wow. If we had if we had some thread, I've lost it. But
who knows, computers, viruses, if-then statements.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
It's all demons.
Right, everything is demons. So
do you think that your how do I say this? So your experience with your family, is it okay to talk about that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Was that in any way technological, I guess?
My experience with my family, was it in any way technological? Well, I mean, both of my parents are pretty like analog as individuals, so I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about, or like,
actually, I meant your star family.
Oh my gosh.
But, and I don't mean to, if you don't want to talk about that, that's okay. But your actual family, I'm curious about that too. And if you grew up in all digital, probably, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the 90s, so that was when there was a lot of like, we're on the exponential curve, and like into somewhere. Where are we going?
Nobody knows.
I'm not liking the direction that this is going. All right, we're going there. That's cool. The Internet of Things. So it is interesting, because I have wondered if that experience that I had meeting my soul family was handled. I don't think they're hive-minded. I think they're just genuinely connected, which is why upon returning, like, and waking up from that in this dream, waking up from that experience, I was like, well, fuck, like, I'm never gonna feel like that kind of connectedness here. I know it was really hard. It was like, it was hard, but
damn.
But yeah, I mean, I didn't get the sense that it was like hive-minded, but you would think so in the way that it was connected. It was almost just like, I don't know, like a beehive or something along those lines, And yeah, just really magical experience. I don't know, but I wonder if that experience was handled or was, because everything, I mean, synchronicities or glitches or whatever, like, are things that we create. They're the exception, not the rule, in my opinion, you know? So was that a handled experience? Was there anything technological about that? I don't know. Are we in an electrical universe, you know? Like, I don't know. I don't know, but I hope not. I mean, shit, I hope that was just a completely organic experience. But with anything, it's like, you know.
Well, that's interesting. And we just kind of went somewhere I didn't even expect to go, of course. But I mean, I was kind of wondering if that's interesting that you said if it might have been like handled and technologically, I guess, influenced or something. But also, I was just wondering if you had a sense of if they had any sort of technology that was like just used differently.
Got it.
What I mean?
It was all very sound and color oriented, which I work a lot with colors in my work and with sound. So it makes sense to me that, you know, I would sort of adopt some of those organic technologies or whatever you want to call them here, for sure. Yeah. So it was a lot of, just
it's like sound technology, maybe, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I just hearing like, I mean, you know how like when there's some kind of like music playing and there's like a dissonance and then there's like a resolve and it's like, you know, that's how it felt, but I don't have like language for exactly what that is. You know, I think words are kind of a hindrance, can be a hindrance. Words are a tool, you know, whatever you make them.
Both.
Yeah.
I think it's better to communicate. I wish we could communicate really effectively without them, but we just have so much depends on them really for communication right now.
Yeah.
There's more stories all about our shows to do all about words and that the spells of words and everything.
It's interesting because when I was writing, because I do try to, because I am a person that, and I'm pretty sure that if I look back at some of those like, you know, more anomalous experiences where like, okay, I have a photographic memory, for example, and I'm pretty sure that that's something that was kind of impressed upon me or like overlaid in some of those experiences, because I don't think that I would be as analytical or as exceedingly verbal as I am, you know, in this experience, had it not been for some of those anomalous, you know, be it like military lab training or whatever. I don't think I would have been as verbal. But so I was writing in my journal today and I was like, because I've had that come up a lot of like words, you know, and like sort of this resentment for, oh, really? Shamanics.
Of the Fringe and Lighting the Void.
What is the show?
When is it?
What is it? Or like, is it on YouTube or something? I'm just going to go subscribe to it really fast.
Lighting the Void. And
Lighting the Void?
I can give you the link maybe, unless you got it real quick there. It's the Shamanics will probably throw it out. Shamanics, throw out the link, would you please?
I see it. From Mind into Matter. Ooh, okay, so that'll go really nicely with what so I found it, by the way. That'll go really nicely with what I was writing today. I was like, why don't I make use of this tool that we have? Awesome. And so, you know, I've been thinking like, okay, maybe I'll use my words a little bit more wisely.
How long did that last?
Right? I know.
Well,
it was good. I wrote these affirmations and I said them a few times and like really intentionally. And I'm kind of like about affirmations, or I don't think that affirmations, like you can't just like say affirmation 100 times and then be like, oh,
hi, Daisy.
Healed. Yeah, she's a good girl. you can't just say like an affirmation 100 times and then be healed. I think there's like you have to go in and do the excavation process. But I think since I've been doing so much clearing, like it's like, why not, use this tool and rather than allowing it to use me, which I think is what happens with people who don't know that the English language is pretty much spell casting. We can take that back. Lighting the void. Okay, perfect.
Right. Yeah. So true. It's spell casting, and it's like, it's just important to take care with our words. But the access to vibration is an important thing. Like you said, we can use that to our advantage.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the idea that we sometimes chant in other languages and sometimes don't know what it means? Do you think that's important?
Gosh, yeah, I think that's probably nuanced. Like with everything else, I think it's probably like, like truth with lies. Like, for example, I come from a yogic tradition, right? So I'm pretty familiar with all of those, the Hindu deities. And it's like, who are we calling in and what are we calling in? And like, I've never met personally, Ganesha or whatever. And, so I don't know why I'm, but I guess it's dependent on everybody's personal experience of what they've shared. But I think there's something about like vowels and there's something about like incantation and chanting, obviously, but I don't know. Sometimes I don't know, like sometimes if I go to a yoga class or whatever and like something does not feel right about this chant or whatever, then I'll just opt out. And
I've had that experience.
Yeah.
Nice.
Right. Like with, it's so funny. Like and I have no room to judge anyone because I have had my own, experiences where I've kind of fallen in. I mean, if there's a trap that was laid out for me, I fell into it. So I can't say that.
What they're for.
Yeah. Right. I mean, learning, everything is learning. But I guess, yeah, I think that sometimes when people are like invoking, just all of these different deities, and then, okay, well, how does that relate to the electrical universe? And are those just kind of like a combination of like egregores created through chaos magic and AI? Like, I don't know.
Interesting.
There's one ascended master quote or whatever that I trust because I think that, I mean, this is kind of obscure, but I feel like people are those ascended masters, like there are maybe like 50 people in the world who have like some kind of template that is Mary Magdalene or Jesus or whatever. And, so for me, like, I feel like I've had a little bit of Kuan Yin maybe overlaid on top of my, right?
Dear to me. Yeah.
And always has never struck me as anything other than super pure, and good and decent. But, I mean, I don't know, like I had an attunement, like a Reiki experience where, Saint Germain is here with you. Saint Germain. And, and I was like, oh, okay, so I guess I'm going to call upon Saint Germain or whatever, and like mistake, huge mistake.
Did you have an experience with Kuan Yin that was negative as well?
No. I've never had a negative experience with Kuan Yin. It's only been positive. And that's because I think I'm part of her. And there's something about her that connects with my galactic family. I'm pretty sure, but I get chills whenever I talk about it. And that's kind of like a signal for me. But yeah, but I think that like some of the like archangels or ascended masters or the Arcturian or this and that, I've seen those beings that we would think of as benevolent, like in some of my like abduction experiences that I'm still processing and kind of like working out, but they're complicit,
Well, I'd love to hear more about that too, or have everybody else hear about it. That's wild. But so let's see the
avocado. I'm just kidding. I have to run to the restroom. I'm sorry.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I can keep things going for a sec. That's
Okay,
fine.
cool.
She's got to walk Daisy.
Yeah, I'm gonna walk Daisy.
So Shamanic says, we talk about magic all the time because everything is made of language, and the English language is made to be a spell casting language. We even say learn to spell. You're right, Shamanics. That's so true. And choosing our words carefully is good, but anytime we're using the language, we're still using the language. So, but what we were just talking about, that concept of chanting in another language, I wonder if anybody else has had that experience, and if you've had any inference from that. Has it been positive, negative? Have you had something appear maybe that you didn't expect? And what was that from? There's a lot of different styles that do that. There's Sanskrit, there's Japanese, Chinese. There's, of course, different yoga styles. Hey, there's Kitty Casanova.
He's a good boy. I just wanted to bring him to introduce him, you know.
Love it. Cats are always welcome here. Yes.
He was asleep, and he's really like, I can't believe you just woke me up.
Yeah, I know. He's like, come on.
Right? So
Cats
funny.
Cats are awesome. They are just
Cats are gifts. I love, gosh, animals and children and plants are pretty much like they're gifts to us, you know.
Agreed, for sure. Yeah, animals are so dear to me. I think that there's something incredibly, well, I don't know what it is actually. Do you think they're from like another realm themselves, like we were talking about earlier, the cosmic origins, or what?
For sure. I think that there's probably like, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like just like it is with humans, you know, like very different. Even like within like the breed of dogs, I'm sure that, you know, different dogs come from different places and different cats come from different places. Though Lyra is like the constellation that, you know, there was like feline beings on Lyra, supposedly.
Oh,
yeah, I have memory of that. But like everything else, I'm kind of skeptical of even my own, you know, memory, which is fine.
We didn't really get into it for reference, but you were talking a little bit about where that comes from, and I understand. But wow, so that's a whole other thing that we can get into when we do.
Yeah.
I wanted to remember to talk about the vowels because I think the vowels are very key too, and I was wondering what your experience was with them.
Sorry, I just wanted to.
That's okay. No, good kitty.
He's so mad. He's like, I can't believe that I am here in this situation where I'm being picked up. Oh my gosh, look at him. I know. He's Russian blue Siamese mix, so he's very verbal. Speaking of vowels, he's meow, whenever he needs or wants anything.
He needs to have his own channel.
I know, he does. He has an Instagram.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, let me see what
that if you want.
I'm like, what is his Instagram? Oh, let's see.
I got to follow you on Instagram and.
Yeah, what is your Instagram? Is it Yogi Chander?
I think so.
Okay, I'm going to just check that out.
It must be.
Oh, okay. What is your last name? Do you say that on here?
So my Kundalini name is Chander Ardas Singh.
Okay, cool.
Chander Ardas is of course, the active part.
So you have a Kundalini name. Were you trained?
So not fully, and I was never. No, I was given the name though when I went through that experience, and it's no allegiance to any foundations or organizations or anything like that, or even Kundalini itself. It's just it was at a time where I needed to make some major shifts in my world, and my identity itself was shifted in a big way. And I was even told that from my Kundalini teachers as I was going through it that I wasn't going to be the same person at all when I was through the end of this process. And
totally.
Anyway, so I wasn't sure what to do with a name. I never considered about taking another name at all, and so it just
it's interesting. And it goes back to what we were talking about frequency, words, sound. I mean, every name carries a certain frequency. And if you are trying to get out of that, then a change of a name makes sense.
Yeah. But yeah, that's funny because I never, I have no problem with my other name, and it actually, it resonated in a lot of ways and still does. Whatever, it's fine. But
what is it? I'm just curious.
Jason.
Okay.
That'll probably be the only time I'll say that. I'm not trying to hide or anything. It's just that it's not me anymore, really. But nevertheless, it was funny when I first changed my name. I had never heard I never done that except on stage.
Mm-hmm.
But it was interesting, just the feeling I would get. It's indescribable. It's just like people, it was like creating an egregore almost as in real time.
Totally.
People were creating this person around me, what they thought I might be. And I was like, that was fascinating.
Interesting. Yeah. I have a friend who changed his name from Rob to Vajra. It was his teacher that instructed him, suggested, I guess, because nobody can make you do anything. But he did that, and he said that there were people that were like with Rob, and then as soon as he changed the name, they were like nowhere to be found. And honestly, he probably benefited from, certain people leave your life. It's just like what we were talking about removing artificial structures. It's like it creates space for whatever, maybe you to get to know yourself better, or people who are maybe more aligned with you to come into your space. Yeah.
And especially with a name like Vajra, I mean, that's a very directed force, sort of a
masculine, very masculine. Yeah. He's also got like a fuck ton of Scorpio. I work with him on this astrology app that I contract for. Thank goodness for stability.
Wow. God, we got to hear more about that. So.
Oh, yeah. It's very interesting. Well, it's called Sanctuary Astrology, and they have like astrology and tarot and psychic readings and stuff on there.
Feel free to link.
It's all right. It's all right. Yeah. So there's that, but it's connected me with people from all over the world, which is really nice. The people that work there, and I'm so close to them. They know shit about me that like people that I've met in person and have been friends with for years don't know about me, and it's good stuff. That is one thing that's positive about all this, maybe confinement or imprisonment or whatever you want to call it, is that, people from all over the world. Like I met you, I met Nish, I met Jerry, I met, all these different kinds of people.
Yeah.
Yes. Totally agree with you, Shamanics. Yeah, absolutely.
Isn't it funny? This is surreal to me almost. Well, everything's surreal, but just meeting people like this, like you and everything, it's like, again, it's more than, and especially in the realm that we're in today, but at any time it's, meeting people in reality is just not happening. So.
Yeah, for sure. I've been doing okay with that though more recently. I don't know how strict the things are in Colorado, but in Charlotte because Charlotte is a very, very liberal like city, and it's like, liberal, what is that anymore? It's like right. Up is down, yes is no, left is right, so exactly. So I've connected with some people through freedom cells, which if words have meaning, then I don't really like the implications of that. But I've met some people.
You be free within yourself.
Huh? I know. Yeah. Isn't that the way that it's always been though? That's not, I don't know. But so I met some people recently, and we're going to be growing food here, and like, there's going to be a bunch of different places where we're going to help each other build gardens and stuff of that nature. And like, maybe they're not like fully on the same page with me spiritually, but like in terms of like they're like, Bill Gates, and I'm like, okay, that's enough for me. So
they're not going to burn the witch or anything though, are they? Like if you join them?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know.
No, but that's awesome because if something were to happen and we, that would be the ideal thing, and I'd be fucked. I don't know any place to go, anywhere I could
No.
reach out to, anybody. I mean, I have some, that's exactly what I want, but it's important to find those things even locally, and even if they're not fully of like mind,
Right. I agree. And I wouldn't be surprised if there are people out there that are trying to do similar things in Boulder, just because, I mean, it's just like that with, have you ever been to Asheville, North Carolina?
Yes.
So Asheville is supposedly one of the most, I mean, I have a different experience of Asheville. Everywhere you look, there's a fucking portal, and it's like, and
wow.
It's really like, I've always felt Asheville to be pretty dark, but it's one of those very like community and, like, oh, everything is organic or like plant-based or, but
Sure, they call
really
that the sister city to Boulder in a lot of ways.
Right? Yeah, but they've really bitten the carrot, in terms of all this stuff that's been going on. And so I know that there's a lot of people in Asheville that are like, wait, what the fuck? I thought that this was the page that we're on, and then it turns out that this is the page that we're on. So I would be surprised if there's not some kind of initiative like that going on in Boulder.
There probably is, I'm sure. I just haven't created opportunity to connect with them, I guess. But in daily life, I have been the only one who doesn't wear a mask. Until very recently, I've seen more people, but not a lot at all. And it's an anomaly. But I'm the cat who walks by himself. I go where I want and do what I need to. And
absolutely,
there are legitimate reasons too, health reasons and stuff. But aside from that, I just not going to do it. And so,
I mean, exhalation serves the same function as like taking a shit. Like to me, it's like, why are you breathing in your release?
a lot of people are carrying around a bunch of literal shit in their bowels as well because they're not eating well and all that stuff. So,
yeah, totally. And that kind of gets back to what we were talking about diet too, like before, we got on here, and how you're ketogenic, right?
Largely ketogenic, little variants, but largely ketogenic. Yeah.
So what is that exactly? Is it like no carb, but then you eat a lot of vegetables, fats, and meat and things of that nature?
Yeah, that's basically true. So very little carb, no sugar or even agave or syrup or whatever, honey, no sugar spikes. So I eat like
fruit?
Stevia. Some fruit. I love blueberries. Love blueberries.
I love blueberries too. I have some in my house.
Oh, really? I don't. I'm jealous.
No, I'll send you I'll send you a virtual blueberry. Yeah.
Nice. That's good. Isn't there something about? I'll go right back to this. Isn't there something about fairy abductions in blueberry patches or berry patches in North Carolina? Actually,
there's blueberry patches in North Carolina.
Or berry patches.
Yeah. So by my house, there's a bunch of strawberry. Yeah. There's a lot of strawberry pickings and stuff of that nature. There's places that you can go to pick apples. And it's funny because I did a lot of that stuff when I was younger. And then 2020 was kind of the impetus to get back into, so I went to the orchard and I picked some apples. It was nice.
Oh, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. Did you ever hear about like fairy abductions and things happening specifically in berry patches?
For whatever reason, whenever you say this, the sound quality is going in and out. So are you saying fairies at berry patches?
Fairy abductions.
Fairy abductions. You know that like that's my origin, right? Like that's the type of being that I feel that I met whenever I had that experience. I've never heard about this, but it wouldn't surprise me. I feel like and that's the thing too, like all interdimensionals and all beings are kind of like under the same kind of containment as far as I'm concerned. So
you mean even like cryptids and stuff like Dogman and Bigfoot and
like
stuff?
Sasquatch?
Yeah.
I mean they're here, so yeah.
Curious. Wow. Okay, wait. So where are we going with this? The nutrition and the berries and I don't eat much fruit, very little. I eat a lot of avocados.
Yeah.
and
Oh my gosh.
other other fats. I'm largely vegan just by default. I don't really crave meat. I will eat it
Yeah.
occasionally. I prefer not to for a lot of reasons. But I have some dairy too, but I love coconut products. Big time.
Oh yeah. Totally. Yeah. So.
And krauts, fermented foods.
Okay, interesting. It's funny because I would say probably like half of my diet, if not more, is fruit.
Really?
Of
Oh,
all
fruits are yum.
kinds.
What kinds
Yeah,
do you like?
fruits are yum. I like melons. So like watermelons, any other kinds of melons, cucumber. Yeah, all kinds of different. Me too. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's a fruit. I was like, but I love grapefruit. I love citrus, especially before I go to sleep. I feel like it helps me remember my dreams.
Really? Grapefruit and citrus, you said?
Mm-hmm. Oranges, mandarins, tangerines.
Supposedly it also helps enhance the effects of medications and prescription medications, I think, at least.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Shamanic said the Irish totally accepted the fairy folk until pretty recently because an expert said it's bunk. Oh my gosh. Trust the experts.
Yep, exactly. Someone with a, coat.
This is all about like outsourcing our authority, right? I mean, that's if a scientist doesn't say it, then it's not true,
Totally. And that goes right back to the ketogenic thing. That's completely the opposite of what I grew up on. I mean, I grew up on Southern food and stuff, so that's a little bit different.
Right.
But the whole idea that you would eat fat or eat fat, eat no carbs, not eat bread and all that stuff is just not what you're taught. And Brene has, remember, told us to eat breakfast as bacon and eggs, which there's nothing really wrong with, but that's a whole other issue. Do you know what I'm talking about with that little reference?
Yeah. Not really, but I know that like for me, my body, intermittent fasting has always been like, do you do intermittent fasting?
Almost every day.
Me too. So what is your schedule like on that tip?
I've varied it a little bit, but mainly, and like right now, it's I start eating at like about 3, and I stop eating at about 7.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome.
If you go for, I think the key formula is to go 15 hours, and then your fat burning kicks into I forget how much more, but it's a lot more.
Okay, cool. Do you ever do any like concentrated fasts? So I know that with keto it's different. It's like MCT oil, where with like people like who eat like I eat, it's maybe like fruit or juice or water. But you do any fasting?
Like so like I do total fasting where it's just water and tea and coffee, and then I've also done with no cream or butter or anything, no fats, nothing.
Gotcha.
And then I've also sometimes I'll do like I forget what it's called, a mimicking fast or something. So it's like I'll have some MCT oil or butter coffee or something.
Okay.
But cool. I've done just like nothing, just water, tea, and coffee for, I think the longest has been 74 hours.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
Do you do extended fasts or anything?
Yeah. I love fasting. I did my first fast last year, and it was 10 days of juice only. So, and then there was some like supplements, and then there was like, we were able to drink green tea. Hi, sweetie. Oh. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Last year was a huge year for you. Wow.
Yeah, it was a big year. It was huge. Gosh, talk about like quantum acceleration and growth, really, because, and then I look back on like the years before that, and even though I was doing well and I have my own business or whatever, and like I checked all the boxes of doing well, there was a lot of untapped potential for sure. Even though I was dealing with entities and was clearing them and stuff like that before last year, it was still, I just was broken open last year. But yeah. And so since then I've done some water fasting where I've done like max is 6 days water fasting using like those kind of binding supplements.
What did you just say?
I've done some water fasting too since that.
But what was the description? You were saying something about something about
it. Our connection is interesting. We're having some interference, but yeah. So I let's say like maybe like 6 days max. So I'll do like 1 day here and there, like 3 days here and there of just water with like those binding agents, like you know what I'm talking about? It's like
That's what I wanted to hear more of, the binding agents. No, tell more.
Can I go grab them so that
Sure.
I can like not fuck it up? Okay.
Visual, sure, yeah. Like I definitely have to make sure to have electrolytes and minerals in mine.
Right? Yeah. Okay. 1 second.
Cool. Shimon, I see you just eat when you're hungry and sleep when you're tired. Yeah, like the natural rhythm, right? Sometimes that's not just with the rise of the sun and the setting of the sun or whatever. It's pretty individual, but yeah, breakfast time isn't until you're ready to eat, right? And I found that when I do intermittent fast, I'm not starving myself. I just don't want to eat. Do you find that too, Meredith? Like when you're intermittent fasting, do you find that, or even fasting, there's a point where you're just not hungry and food just isn't a thing?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
I think there's a lot of, so I'm pretty sure that every territory of human experience right now has been like programmed in some way, shape, or form. I think
Wow.
food is a huge thing like that.
You mean like sugar being an activator kind of thing? Is that what you mean?
Well, I just mean like, okay, so like the food pyramid is total BS. Like we know that. Like the way that we are, sort of like programmed to think like, okay, like 3 meals a day starting at 8 a.m. and then 12 p.m. and then 5, maybe some snacks. Like I personally think that's too much food. Like for me, that's too much. Like I start to lose energy whenever I eat that way. And I find that like all of my energy gets kind of just concentrated into my stomach so that I'm just digesting all the time. But so these are, so I ordered some new ones because I am planning on doing this again here soon. But so this is it's True Carbon Cleanse gut detoxifier from True Cellular. This is actually pretty keto friendly.
I'm looking this up. Okay. I'm making a note.
So this is just magnesium.
Oh, huge.
I think there's apple fiber, activated carbon, some other shit in here.
Fascinating.
And then there's Fast Tonic. This says muscular hydrogen cellular support.
Ooh, what's in that?
Let's see. So this says organic non-GMO binder, malic acid, tartaric acid, and there's a couple of other ingredients that I can't pronounce, but so I'll take all of these together. And then there's these, this is same product, Cyto Detox.
Okay. What's in that?
Let's see. Okay. So this has zeolite, which I think is really good at releasing heavy metals. Zeolite.
Okay.
And let's see. And then there's these, which are just trace minerals that I put this in my water anyway.
I use that brand, only I use like the 12,000 volts. Have you seen that?
Dang.
So it's something like 12,000 volts. It's got basically the highest count of the main ingredients that I want. Like magnesium is big.
Yeah, totally. So, so those are the supplements that I use if I am going to do a water fast. I've been putting off doing it again. So maybe this is a good, like, apt conversation to have right at the moment. It's like a nice reminder.
You can do that any given day. You're like on your intermittent fast and you're like, I'm just going to keep surfing it for a while.
Yeah, totally. But then it's weird because I have this like nicotine thing and I don't want to, like, that is the tricky piece, I think, is like clearing out all toxins. Like, I just don't know if that's possible, here where we are.
Permanently, probably not.
Under a metal sky,
Yeah, we were talking about that too. There's just so much. You're assailed from every angle.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I don't know.
We drifted so far off.
Yeah, I'm just like, who knows? I'm enjoying it though. We're like going back and forth and here and there, and I
Love it.
usually eat before 3 though. I'll have like, I don't know. I mean, I haven't eaten yet today and it's 12:42 here. So I might eat whenever we're done. Like I'll have like, I usually have a big bowl of fruit. It's like not ketogenic at all, but definitely.
Is that how you break your fast too?
Yeah.
I mean, it
Usually
seems like
with
it works for you. I
citrus.
mean, you seem quite radiant, and you seem
Oh,
within yourself. Yeah,
I
it's good.
feel good. I feel good. I feel it's definitely been like a long, well, what is time? It's been like a process to get here though. I mean, I just ever since last year when I kind of started to break my programming, which like it's interesting too, because I have talked to a couple of people and they've said like, oh, because I'm like, am I late to this? Am I late to this all? And then I'm also like, I'm 29 and I think that's like about when people start to break their programming if they've been in any kind of, mind control operations or whatever. So
I didn't know that. That's like the age that things start to
plus or minus a few years. I think it's everything is individual. So, I don't know.
Sure. Wow.
But that was the case for me. And it's been a process of like, an ongoing process of figuring out what's not me, what works for me, what doesn't, because the temptation, once you see how overrun this all is with, whether you want to say entities or AI or everything is demons or whatever, the tendency is to want to kind of like, it's like, okay, well, I don't want to do anything. Like I didn't want to watch movies. I didn't want to listen to music. I didn't want to do anything. And
I still rarely listen to music. Anyway, go ahead.
I know. Yeah. I don't really listen to music anymore like I used to either. Like if I am going to listen to something, it's not like produced by a major label or whatever, And then, the quandary that I get into a lot is like, okay, well, how do I like have my ethics intact here where like it's, kind of like an entropic where like everything feeds on everything else. Like, how do I not make myself a part of that anymore? Like, how do I break away from that? So definitely a lot of interesting.
God, that's a big question right there. And I think about that kind of thing a lot. Like, is there a way to exit the matrix basically like that? I mean, it seems like you almost have to, otherwise any attachment you have seems to keep you here.
Yeah, I think that like that's the thing. And there comes a point where like, just based on, and I'm not like saying that I don't think that there's a possibility that there could be some kind of change. Like, I think that really like the possibilities for what could happen in the future are infinite, but, I can kind of see like where things are inching with the Internet of Things and, all of this, right? And none of that appeals to me as a person. So
go ahead, please.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say that's so maddening almost. It's like I can see both those things. And it's like if we create our own realities, I mean, they're both so tangibly available. And it's like, how do we, I mean, are we going to live in a dual time slip thing? Or I just don't, I'm really, I have no idea.
Yeah, it's like, how is the bifurcation really going to look? Like, are we going to go somewhere else? Or like, are we going to like, what the fuck? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I've heard all kinds of different theories. I've heard that we go to, quote, New Earth. I've heard that we stay here and we're just like living two separate societies. I don't fucking know. I just know one step in front of the other, which is like the ultimate, like, can we talk about astrology? Can I tell you guys about it? Okay.
Please.
So
this goes right back to what you were saying in your video the other day about the unreality, reality, and how that ties to astrology and what Mars is going through Taurus or moving into Pisces, something like that, or
there's a lot. Like I would say that like from 2017 until 2020, like the very end of 2020, Saturn, which is like, and we can get into a whole other conversation about like what I actually think astrology is and whether or not like I fully ascribe to it. I mean, it seems to be just like the wheels of the matrix, And I don't know if it extends beyond that or not. Just full disclosure, full authenticity. I don't know. But Saturn, which is kind of like the lesson that we're all learning, archetypally anyway, was in Capricorn from that time, 2017 to 2020. And the lesson was take your authority back. Like, where is your authority? What is guiding you? What is running your life and your experience? And, it's a test, so last year there were like 3 different big conjunctions of Pluto and Saturn at the beginning of the year, which is sort of what I feel like, led into the, coronavirus and all of this, the Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, something like that happened in I think it was 82 or 83, which was the precursor to the HIV/AIDS thing. And then it's okay, well, Fauci was involved with that as well, very interesting. But Capricorn represents time as well. So I think that people talk about the end times, but is the end times really just the end of time? Because time, as far as I'm concerned, has fallen apart. I don't keep track of linear time unless I have to for schedule. It's very easy for me because I'm creative inherently. So it's easy for me to lose track of that. And I think that was a huge piece of that, because when Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto came together in 1582 or 1583, I think, and that was the beginning of the Gregorian calendar, was around that time. So, we're kind of, so that was really the closed door on whatever that cycle was, the cycle of being held captive by linear time. That's, which is interesting, because then the global narrative got louder and louder and louder, as that took place. So I don't know, is the global narrative getting louder and louder so that we don't, walk through the door that is, really falling out of step with time as we've known it? I don't know. These are just things that
You mean a natural defense, whatever it is, defending against its own demise kind of thing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And then over the summer, Jupiter and Pluto connected with Capricorn, in Capricorn, which is overgrowth of corruption, expanding of secret backdoor deals, and also huge in terms of sovereignty and taking our power back, whatever that looks like, whatever that means, which I think is a process, happens in phases,
Yes.
And then in December, so have you seen the movie The Dark Crystal?
Yes.
Remember how there was the great
conjunction? I fell asleep last time I was watching it, actually. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm just shocked. No, but how there's the great conjunction where it's the end of the world or it's the beginning, and that was also last year, December 21st of 2020. And it's interesting because so many of the I kind of think the word ascension has been pretty much co-opted and inverted or whatever.
Anyway, but...
Yeah. But I think that a lot of people on that tip were we're gonna get our superpowers, on the great conjunction. Woohoo, And I was thinking to myself, I don't know. I mean, we might get our superpowers in this life as whatever control structure we're under, sort of begins to wane. I don't know that for sure. I'm just saying I could see that as a possibility, but something like that would have to be outside of the construct coming in, not necessarily as part of the wheels of the construct. So I was I don't know if y'all are going to get your superpowers on December 21st. I'm sorry to say, might be a ongoing evolution process, but
be.
So, and then Aquarius is just all about doing things differently. The idea space really opens up really well and, you know, reinventing the wheel. But then it also has to do with like that, like weird, you know, technology kind of influence that is really being kind of overlaid on top of this reality. So I think it's both. I think it's people coming together and having conversations like this one, but it's also, you know, transfer of power from, you know, the like, you know, the whatever, like the traditional institutions that we're used to with Capricorn to the tech giants and the artificial intelligence in Aquarius. And yeah, like, so that's just one aspect of it, but there's so many different other aspects of what's going on right now, like the North Node being in Gemini, which is the same place that it was on 9/11, you know, and kind of we're seeing some parallels between this and that, how when there's any kind of enemy, people are more likely to give up their freedoms or rights or whatever. You know, and now the enemy is our own body, you know, and other people's. And so, yeah, but so the North Node in Gemini, I think, is creating, you know, the division. And then there's like, there's divisions within the division. Like, I know everybody in the conspiracy community does not agree with each other or get along, you know.
True.
But anyway, all that to say, definitely a very Alice in Wonderland kind of time, which that movie itself has huge ties to MK Ultra and Down the Rabbit Hole, and, you know.
I have a lot of, as an actor, I've actually performed that a lot. We actually
really,
we had a performing troupe that performed at a bunch of schools that did that, and
how fun.
That specific show, and I've done a few others of it and stuff. And actually, right before this hit, my last audition was for it was going to be a production in Denver for Alice in Wonderland. It's funny.
Wow. It's interesting how the micro and the macro kind of interlink, you know.
It never ceases to amaze me. Even though synchronicity happens to me like all the time, it still makes me go, wow. Like, just real quick aside, Shamanics in the chats, he and I had this thing yesterday. He was like telling me about like this staff of his, and I was like, and it had a specific look to it, and I had one just like what he was describing. It was just a natural branch I found. And I was like, you mean like this? And it was uncanny. And so that,
wow,
just weird stuff like that happens all the time, but I still go, what?
Oh my gosh. So I'm just catching up on the chat. I just saw, this is a pretty cool website, StreamYard.
It's helpful. Yeah.
So I'm looking at, so Shamanics turned 40 on December 21st. Interesting.
Thank you for checking that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure. December had some weird energy for sure. Not unlike March or any of the months that we've had in this whole Sharona and this whole process.
It was kind of a pivotal point for a lot of reasons, right? Astrologically too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What, December 21st? Yeah. I mean, the triplicity, which just basically means, I consider this to be like the backdrop of the collective, had been in Earth. So Saturn and Jupiter were conjoining in Earth signs pretty much for hundreds of years. And then just December 21st conjunct in air signs, in Aquarius. So now every 20 years they'll conjoin, but in air signs. So, the end of the world or the beginning, who knows? And then Shamanic's moon sign is Gemini, which is interesting. That's like a internalized polarity for sure.
Interesting
to
energy.
Create a lot of confusion.
You brought up the mind control programs and stuff, and that'd be an interesting topic too, because I was just thinking when you were talking about stripping away the layers of things that you have, all of them, from nutrition and everything. It just adds another dimension, because there was also those other things that you had to shed yourself of and be aware of and stuff. And I don't have any specific memories of anything like that in my life, but I will say that the things that I've heard sound eerily familiar, and some of the experiences I've had in places I've been, and memories that come up now and then make me question it. I think I was really, I think it was around me, if nothing else, and I'm not sure. But so I'm very fascinated by people who recognize that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
What you have to say.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think everyone goes through some process along those lines. But there's,
As
you
a
know,
baby?
I think everybody goes through some kind of like abduction scenario, or like some
Hmm.
goes in for programming or whatever. Like, that's just my opinion.
Is that
I
what you
think
meant
that,
about the birth may not be what we're told? Is that what you mean?
no, I don't know. I don't know exactly what I mean by that.
Okay, never mind. Go ahead.
I'm still kind of like toying with the idea of that, because I just, yeah. So
Sorry.
I'll just
Go
say
ahead.
that. I don't know.
That's fine.
But yeah, so I had, I was receiving energy work. I was really big into, speaking of programs, the like Avalon programming of like, you know, this like love addiction. I think that's something that, you know, is really strong here, that pretty much everybody reckons with or faces at points in their lives of, you know, kind of like externalizing. I mean, it's all about like externalizing versus like everything is within you. So how do you reconcile that, you know?
Right.
But anyway, yeah. So I was doing an energy work session around some of that, and this was with someone, I think she does access consciousness clearing. I
I've
don't
done
know if
that.
you're familiar. Yeah. Speaking of words and all that,
Right.
that's, yeah, that's, so she told me, she was like, you've been abducted like hundreds of times. And I was like, and the first time was at birth. And I was like, and this was in 2018. And I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe like, you know, just, I don't know.
You mean
I
at
just
birth?
know.
You mean like there she is, boom?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Or even pre-birth. I mean, I don't know. There's so much, I think, about here that isn't really, yeah. But so I had that experience with her, and I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. Like, I'll just wait until I see it for myself. Wouldn't surprise me based on a lot of my experiences, but I was just kind of like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, until I see it for myself, how do I know? I don't know, you know? So then last year I started to, oh fuck, like, you know, you hear about like these really, which I think that these experiences are fake. I don't know, you know, where like somebody has this like full waking consciousness, like gets onto this ship, and it's like this really beautiful experience where everybody's kumbaya and la 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 and this and that, you know. I don't know how much of those experiences are really real, you know, but mine was nothing like that. It was like being probed on an operating table, or like, you know, having like some of my spinal fluid like extracted, or, you know, kind of being like physically tampered with. And then I also have memory of like, you know, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. It's pretty triggering stuff. I'm working on it, but it's definitely like, okay, well, this is nothing like what I thought reality was, right? So I have this memory of like giving birth to like half human, like half or whatever I am, you know, and half blue babies,
Wow.
you know, like, and sort of like, I think that there's probably a lot of people that are doing that while they're asleep and they don't know, you know,
Wow.
and have memory of like sitting in a vat of like liquid or water or plasma or something that I could breathe, which was interesting, and kind of seeing like a bunch of different kinds of beings. And the only thing that I can like tie that to is like a galactic black market, or a galactic market, galactic trade situation. Because I know that humans are, you know, brought to different places and harvested and all this kinds of stuff. And, you know, and so I also have memory of like an ex-boyfriend of mine, of us being kind of both unconscious, mostly, and, you know, part of his heart being taken and put into my heart, so that when we would meet, we would recognize each other, and it would be like this whole synchronicity. And so those kinds of experiences, and have military memories too, of like being in a room with a lot of other children. And
Other children, wow.
yeah, I mean, and kind of like I just have memory of like having like my responses to different stimulus measured. And I've done some research since then into like Project Bluebeam, and that to me seems, I don't know for sure, I don't know, but so yeah.
Bluebeam, is that the one about the projecting things in the sky, or is that something else?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that was probably tested on people, obviously, before, they've gotten to a point where maybe they'll use it. I don't know, but
Fascinating. Again, the resonance. Yeah. I'm just like, wow, my jaw's dropping. Except some of those things are completely I haven't heard of. And one thing I thought of as you were talking about like those people that have the kumbaya experience. Do you think that perhaps that might be like a byproduct of some sort of anesthesia or something?
Yeah, I think that so Matthew asked, can I lucid dream? And I think that's a really important question. I actually have to work in my like daily waking life. I have to be doing a certain, like, I have to not be smoking herb, for example. I have to like, be eating a certain way, lots of citrus. I have to like, in order for, and I have to like work on that. I think that's an aspect of myself that's been kind of blocked or kept away, though it is coming back in stages. But I think with that, the dreaming question, because I know that, beings can place dreams or memories as like cover
screen
dreams or memories for what you're actually experiencing. Yeah.
Like a screen memory. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of like, what I think that some of those abductions like could be. You have to program yourself to be able. Yeah. Like for me, I've had to like, I don't know if you're familiar with like any kind of like agreement breaking work, like how our reality is held together by agreements. Like, okay, I agree to that the sky is blue, or that I agree to,
No,
like,
I haven't heard of that as a spiritual concept or anything, a metaphysical concept, but I was introduced to that through improv training, and that was a huge part of my spiritual awakening, whatever it might have been.
Yeah.
Right? Deprogramming, I guess, is a better way to call it. I like that.
Sure. Yeah. Deprogramming. Right. Exactly. My shattering. It's like.
So that attachment to what we've been told that is that thing that we're looking at and describing. Go ahead, please. Sorry.
No, it's cool. But so I think that that's like when so in my own personal work, like that I've done on myself, it's been a lot of like breaking agreements to things that maybe were impressed upon me in those times of trauma or under duress. Because I think and this has been described to me. This isn't something that I've seen. By the way, I have to plug my mentor friend, Kimberly McGeorge, secrettoeverything.com. She has a class on remote viewing, Matthew, if you're interested. She's pretty incredible, and she's really helped me to catalyze and to find myself, in all of this. So I really highly recommend her and her work. But so she's the person actually who told me that sometimes in those underground experiences or off-planet experiences, which could just be underground experiences, like how how like under certain conditions of duress, you will be coerced into agreeing to certain things, like, okay, like, like I will be at a loss for money, or I will think poorly of myself or my, and so for me, my lucid dreaming experiences or my ability to be awake and to remember, I've had to do a lot of agreement breaking work so that I will be able to come to that space. And then I have, and I think there's still way more for me. And I'm not complete with any of this stuff. I'm still pretty new and, don't think that, it's quite a thing, like to kind of peel one layer of the onion back and then to think that you have it. Like, I just have it, I don't think that at all. But I do think that, there's more for me with regard to lucid dreaming, because it happens sometimes, but it's very like hard for me to get a full grasp on. I think my dream state could be tangled up in some of these things that we're talking about.
Do you prepare yourself in any way, like with a protection of some sort or anything?
Yeah, I always put myself in impenetrable bubble, but I'm not under. I've heard some people, some truthers or whatever you want to call them, say that some of these operations have stopped altogether and that they're not going on anymore. But I don't think that's true.
Really?
I think I'm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Why do you think it stopped? I was going to say, but go ahead.
I don't think it stopped. I think it's not stopped. I think there's a lot of people that see maybe like some of the frequency fencing that's been taken down, or like they see that there's, even though like there's like 5G or whatever, that there's like less control, or like the cap has lifted, like we were talking about before. A lot of people maybe see that and assume that, a lot of those things have stopped. I don't think they've stopped. I think I'm still being, just anyway. So I put myself in an impenetrable bubble, and I like to, I do a grounding and protection. I come back to that throughout the day. I think it's important.
Throughout the day. That is important, I think.
Mm-hmm. And before I go to sleep, I read a sovereignty declaration that I think it's on Lauda Leon's website, but I'm not sure if she wrote it or not. I don't know.
I'm not familiar. I think that's a powerful thing, to set an intention before sleep.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'll ask my soul family to help me with protection as well, and to give me clues and insights. And I have to admit, though, like for me, like, and I am in a process where I'm I'm smoking a little bit of herb here and there, and whenever I'm in that space, like for me, I don't remember too much about my dreams. Like last night, I remembered a little bit. I wrote it down,
I remember saying that on Nox Mente, and I'm sorry, but it stuck me because I haven't noticed that. Like I haven't noticed any difference in my dreams. Are always really vivid.
Cool. Well, I wonder if there's some kind of link. Like I've thought about that. Like maybe if there's some kind of cord that tethers my herb consumption with me not remembering, and maybe it's an association that I have, that every time I say that, speaking of agreements, I'm agreeing to that. So
fair.
Yeah.
I love that you're open to that. Do you know how important that is in today's world and how rare it is, Meredith?
What, just like being able to call yourself out?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like really. And like challenge what you think you know, especially.
Yeah, I mean.
Those attachments, recognizing that as an attachment.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the more that I am in this space that I'm in now, the more that I'm coming into contact with people who recognize that and are able to kind of like say like, okay, we're still here. We're still under mind control as a result of still being here, So, but I wonder, even though there is no future, there is no past, all that stuff, because of time being like, construct and humans being quantum computers, or whatever, like, but I wonder, I always felt like this was like a particularly big lifetime. Like I remember like, feeling like I was going to see some shit, and like,
Yep.
And definitely wonder if maybe we're like right at the moment where we realize that these chains of ours, we could have taken them off all along, and, you know, that we're stepping into that space. I don't know. Maybe some people.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
No, you say it.
No, I don't mean, I just exclaimed because you keep like touching things that are like, they're really, really deep. And so like one thing that I've thought about, I don't know where this image came from, but it's exactly what you were saying. It's like, I have this image, it's probably a TV show or something, but of like this world where the air isn't safe to breathe. So everybody always wears masks. And then the one day at breakfast or something, the daughter questions why are they always wearing masks? And the dad says, because we always have, because the air's not safe and all that. And then she was like, well, how do you know that? And then they both went outside and took off their masks and they could breathe.
Wow.
And
really
you're right.
interesting.
How long have we been free?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's the ultimate question. Yeah, that's the ultimate question, I think, in terms of like, yeah, because, yeah, how much of this is self-imprisonment is what I wonder. And like, you know, are we in the space where we can all kind of, I mean, all of us, because I think there are some people, it's just like Plato's cave allegory, right? Of like, you know, people who are trying to like kill the people that are trying to free them from their enslavement or whatever. But
yes, and I've been thinking about that too. Hattie
Same.
Mikowski had a series about that, and it was very fascinating. But the idea of like, where did the cave come from in the first place, and why are we all in the cave?
Yeah.
Or the person who's writing it, whatever, you know.
Yeah, and I know for myself, and like with every memory I share, it could be handled. So I'm not trying to say that like this is law or whatever. But for me, I have memory of being kind of tricked into being here. You know.
They do. Damn it. I don't like that feeling.
Yeah, I don't either. And then it's like, okay, well, wherever you go, there you are. And maybe if we have spirit or soul or whatever it is that, you know, tethers us to, you know, keep seeking and searching, or, you know, if we have that, then certainly we're both in here and we're out there both at the same time. So we're probably plenty of other places too. Like we probably aren't, all of us probably aren't just here, even though this is where our conscious experience is.
For sure.
Yeah. So like, you know, so then, but I do have memory of like being on like the original experience of Earth and having some shit go down. And then, you know, kind of the shit that we're seeing now, it's all the same. It's all like, I feel like I've been through this like several times, you know, and I think weird. That's probably what unlocked my memories, was like the trauma of, you know, everybody going through this weird, sketchy thing that nobody agrees on what it is. You know, I think that was enough for me to be like, okay, wait, this feels really similar to me. Like, to everything that I've experienced maybe before in my soul's lineage, like with the rise and fall of civilizations and the different resets, you know?
Yeah. Yes. Have you looked into the the whole Tartar? Speaking of the Tartar thing that we were talking about earlier.
I was thinking that when I.
You did? Were you? Because I almost said it then.
Yeah, I did. I was like Tartar. I was thinking acid. I wonder if that comes from the mud flood.
I wonder if it comes from Tartaria. I mean, surely it does. And it's also, my dad used to make steak tartare when I was a kid, which is just raw hamburger meat and a raw egg in it.
Sounds delicious. I probably couldn't eat any of that shit now, but so
have you looked into that?
I've not gone down the Tartaria rabbit hole as much as I don't want to keep saying that. Like,
that's fine.
I know, but I haven't gone down that whole thing. Although I do think it's interesting that there are. I mean, that's always been the thing. Like, who built the pyramids? Who built these structures? Okay, well, we don't have. And that's the thing too. And this kind of has nothing to do with Tartaria, but it does have to do with like wondering, you know, are people really buying that this isn't forced evolution, or that we haven't been at this, like, and you know, the exponential curve before? Like, are we like, is this really the most advanced humans? Like, are there people that actually like buy that nonsense? Because
Yeah, I think there are.
I've seen some other kinds of technology what?
I said no offense to anybody, but I think I am right there with you. I'm like, yeah, there are a lot.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tricky. I try to be respectful of everyone's views, and I know that a lot of the issues that are taking place have really hit below the belt. So, and I know that even, I mean, there's a lot of like, NPCs, and NPC talk of like, the NPCs, but
Yeah.
I think everyone here, regardless of whether or not they're an NPC or a virtual intelligence or a real soul human being, like everyone has had a fuck ton of trauma. Like even just if we were to look at this life alone, like, has this life been particularly easy for you? Like,
for nobody.
Yeah, nobody. I think that's, yeah.
That's a big important thing that I don't know. I think I saw it on the back of a tea bag when I was a teenager, and it's always something I've carried with me. It was like that everybody you meet is having a hard time, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's
for sure
right now.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is what makes the kind of like the agreement breaking and the entity clearing or the whatever, all of the work that so many people do to clear energy of any kind. I think that's what makes it so important, because and that's what I hope, is that through me talking about some of this stuff, these ideas and all of that can be made more accessible.
Me too. Thank you for being here and doing that too, and sharing your stuff with us all.
Oh my gosh, totally. Yeah, it's been really awesome, and I'm happy to be here, and yeah. And thank you for having me.
Huh? I'm not rounding us down at all. I'm just giving you gratitude, because it takes a lot to, and you've been doing that a lot, I know, but I feel like you're very authentic, and obviously Shamanics noticed that. He said something about that earlier. It's so true, and it takes a lot to be that. And thank you. And I think that
of course.
Well,
I think that it comes back to, okay, so I've shared a lot of the memories and stuff that I've shared with you. I also shared on my YouTube channel pretty much like last September. Like, as soon as I felt integrated enough to speak, I was like, okay. And do you know how many people have reached out to me saying that they've had like similar experiences? Like, so that's why why else? I don't, and I think there's too many people talking about it at this point for it to be labeled one thing or another. I mean, I think if somebody is, based on like the news media rhetoric, right? We can talk about that a little bit, because that is like the spell of like Neptune and Pisces. And I anticipate that in March, that spell could get like, the volume be turned up on that a little bit. But now, like, people who see things differently are being labeled, white supremacists or domestic terrorists, regardless of whether or not their beliefs align with populism or nationalism or, I mean, these topics, all of them, every topic that we're facing and everything is so nuanced, like, everything. Like, I think that some people, because I was like super left too, before I like remembered and went through, the Sharona, like, and, kind of saw the party that I was lining myself to as what it is, and then realized what politics is. And I was like, it was just like a big thing. Though I kind of always felt like they were two wings of the same bird, or, whatever. And so I guess. Do
you have a feeling nowadays in that realm about that?
About what? Like about
politics?
Do I have a feeling about it? What do you mean? Like, do I think that this?
Do you obviously it's a trap like anything else, and an agreement, or it's an agreement is really right. But do you believe that holds any sway in which direction we go with our realities?
Only in the sense that we agree to certain things and agreement equals consensus reality, like, you know.
Sure.
But ultimately, I think it's up. Yeah,
Go.
ultimately, I think it's up to people, kind of just recognizing like the occult aspect too of voting and of ballot boxes and all of that, and recognizing like the energetic transfer of that and how you are consenting to being governed. And I mean, I didn't vote in the last selection, and I guess, yeah. So anyway, all that to say, like, I was aligning and there are aspects of like classical liberalism and like, even like that party and like that I align with. Like, for example, I'm not like a back the blue, like I'm an always film the police kind of person, like I feel like police brutality is a huge problem. Not just here, but like everywhere, and I think it's all aspects of society as we've known it are kind of sick, so I don't see how the police or the various, aspects of government are any different than that. I think that's, yeah, that's all, I think.
Well said.
Thank you.
No, that really is, and it's making me wonder now listening to you talk. So we've done what I've noticed that we've done so far in our conversation is we've talked about a lot of things, but we haven't just like bitched about stuff. We've given experiences of how we've dealt with it, and we've given possible solutions and things, and I love that. I mean, there's not enough sources of that. And
yeah,
so,
I mean, we can complain all day about how, like, I mean, it's just basically like a mass MK Ultra operation being conducted on the public, and how, I mean, I can complain about how children are being, like, how children and the elderly are most vulnerable. Those are our most vulnerable. There's a lot of things about it that bother me, and that I could definitely talk about and fucking complain about for sure.
right, endless, but you don't. I mean, you just I don't. Maybe you do. I mean, we all do sometimes, maybe, but I mean,
I do. Yeah. Fuck yeah, I do.
You're like you're seeking though the solution or something, and I love that. That's awesome.
I just don't know if the solution is outside. I mean, I think it's like everyone having to go inside. Like there's communist China, and there's there's like white supremacy, and there's all these different external, there's, even in my case, there's demons. Everything is demons,
Right.
And at what point is, I mean, I think the most important invisible enemy or whatever that we should address is ourselves, And
Yes.
and maybe how we've been complicit in some of these things, even on a soul level. Like maybe I never, like, maybe, so okay, I was abducted at birth, so I've been told, and I've seen some of that. I think I barely skimmed the surface of that, but like I'm sure I didn't, as a newborn baby, sign a contract that says, yes, I agree to all of these things, and here we go,
Sure, let's go for that. Right.
But as a soul, as a spirit, I mean, I'm probably pretty complicit in this. There are probably places throughout my soul's memory where I've chosen, certain things. See, Biden is sending rainbow-colored bombs to Syria, so they welcome this progressive attitude. Oh my gosh, yeah. Can we talk about how, like, we have a VI president right now?
A what?
Virtual intelligence.
Oh, VI. Oh, wow. I have not heard that. Funny enough, that's a new one for me. But yeah, that makes sense.
Or just like an AI president or whatever. Like, and yeah, how it's so interesting because, like, see, now that you said that about complaining, now I'm like, well, let me hold my green juice, I'm gonna go ahead and complain. But like that, so I was at the grocery store and I saw something about Jill Biden scrunchies and, you know, how, oh, there's this like White House dog and like this and that. And it does take away from how, I mean, we just bombed the shit out of Syria to send a message to Iran, you know, and I don't even know that any of these places really exist. I mean, who knows? But it's
Fair.
just, there's lots of different ways I think that you can look at that. But I think war is always a racket, always BS, you know, false flags. And it's the like othering of people and the othering of self that somehow makes it okay in our minds that you can do this or whatever. It's just a spell.
Agreed. Yeah. And it's also the wiping out of individualism and the over homogenization, I guess, or something. The taking away of
collectivism.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, a good collective is to be had with people who are super fragmented, traumatized, and I mean, you know, a healthy collective starts with healthy individuals, and I think that's, you know,
fair. Yeah.
And sure, maybe like in America, especially, there's like aspects of us that have gone to, or, you know, really have just gone with the way that we've been set up here in our boxes away from community living. I mean, there are aspects of, you know, community. And I mean, I think that's incredibly necessary right now and helpful and all that, you know, but
yeah,
not at the expense of the individual. I think that's a whole fucking spell. That's leading right to the Borg, you know, and I just don't have any desire to participate in that.
Agreed. Yeah. It's important just to be able to look at that, even just to be able to step back and see that whole picture, whatever way you want to go, just agree to that's, you know, that's the picture.
I mean, the transhumanism plans have supposedly been in the works since I was a baby, you know, and so, or even before that, I mean, really since the first industrial revolution, I guess, right? Like, the foundation has always been there for whatever is coming. I don't know. I don't profess to know. I still don't, you know, think anybody knows, even though there are people that say that they know.
Right. There's always someone who has a solution and something to sell you to help you,
right?
Or whatever. But you know, so a quick thought that I'll interject, just because I thought of it. Do you think, or I thought of the possibility that the structures that are in place, the control structures and stuff, maybe, I mean, if you thought of this whole thing as like a virtual reality thing, you know, just positing a thought experiment, that's all. But imagine those things as being like, so imagine someone shut down the program or is erasing the program, just put it to the trash. And then, so like, those are the things that are like de-resing all the bits of the program, you know?
Right. Totally. And it's like, you know, who's to say that this hasn't already happened, you know, and that like,
maybe we're just getting
yeah, I mean, and who's to say too that like the system hasn't already collapsed, that everything isn't already, you know, and that we're kind of in the afterlife. I don't know. I mean, these are just,
I've thought that many times.
Yeah.
And people even say that about the literal paradigm that we're in right now. Like it might have already collapsed, and it's this residue sort of everything.
Yeah, I could totally see that, and that makes sense because of like all of the perception management, which is really all of the media stuff. Or, you know, I mean,
it's getting heavier.
Never before has there been in my lifetime anyway, where like perception management has been, I mean, the efforts are, seems like all cards are on the table, you know, to like manage people's perspectives of reality. Like, I don't know if you saw the social, what is it called? It's not The Social Network, but it's The Social Dilemma, I think. And it's a Netflix documentary, so take with a grain of salt.
Heard about that. Haven't seen it. But...
Well, so the guy that, you know, came out with a heavy conscience or whatever about Google, you know, and what some of the stuff that they were doing, he came out and said, like, and it was kind of, it was truth with lies, right? Because they were also like undermining the conspiracy community and all of that, kind of thing. And they were saying, like, if there's no consensus of what reality is, how do we know what is real? And I'm like, ooh, like, I don't want to, if there is a consensus reality, I don't really want a part of that.
Right? Wow. There's so many things if you just think about that,
Yeah. Yeah. And, and I think too, like, yeah, I don't know. I was just going to go into something super depressing. Speaking of depressing things, but
well, instead, hold on to that just because you can tell me afterwards if you want to. But no, just because I just want to. I know we only have like about a half hour or so, and I just wanted to. What did I want to do? I forgot now. Thank you. That helped. So I started to deprogram. Like hardcore, like around 2012, 13, I guess. But there were, anyways, between now and then, there have been a lot of, I was fortunate because it was easy to find, it was a winding path, but it was easy to find some good sources that helped me to continue to not be deluded. At least I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, I think that's hard these days. And what I'm getting at is, how did you, like, what specifically, like the things you're talking resonate with me. And so I don't know if we were getting, if we have similar sources or where you found your information and things other than your galactic influences and things like.
I mean, I love Emily Moyer. She's like someone who has really because I noticed that
she's awesome.
Yeah, I noticed that she was talking about the projects. And so I was like, okay. And then I would get little bits of memory when I would listen to her, when I would listen to Shane Bales.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
Oh, he's got a really interesting series that is it's kind of challenging, but it's like, I think it's Rage Against the Machine or something about the machine. It's interesting. But so, and then I started listening to Lauda Leon and Og Tellez. And I mean, I don't listen to them very much anymore. No disrespect, no judgment. But now it is interesting because I went through a process of like, once I had those memories, I was like researching all that I could get my hands on and then trying to reconcile all of the different, like, how do I feel about this? And like, where does this tie into my life? And like, I don't fucking know, So I just kind of like, but now I'm kind of in the process of like, I'll listen to Emily's content a good bit. And, I like listening to Nox Mente and, enjoy Niche a lot and, enjoy just less like, there's a lot of the revelations script, the prophecy. There's a lot of like people talking about that. And I don't think that needs any more energizing from me. I think that it's, so now I'm just in a process of maybe tuning out a lot of the noise and, kind of figuring out, just my own micro. I mean, if we are in a space of tribulations, supposedly, then, and if we do create our reality, to what extent do we create our reality, despite the fact that we'll be bumping up against, hardships here and there? I don't know. Like, these are just things that I think about.
I think about that all the time too. It's
It's like, and I think maybe some of it goes to like how much power you're giving to the various prophecy or, the various like, I mean, you can be aware of something and not have it have its hooks in you, and.
Well, it's a case in point is I was just kind of thinking about how, like, my experience not wearing a mask and going around society and like, I just go about my life. Like when I go to the store, I just go about it like I normally would. Like I just, and I go right up. I mean, I just am natural, and people sometimes, will say something, even rarely these days. Sometimes they'll keep their distance or do what they're supposed to. But oftentimes I'm finding more and more that people just start behaving more normally. And it's always been more that confidence and just that natural intention of it just being, not threatening or anything, just believing completely that this is a fine thing for me to be doing. having my
Totally.
face out here because this smile has a
Yeah,
lot.
and then setting up your energy to you know, like maybe you decide that you want to put an invisibility cloak on.
Yes.
You can do that. You can do that with your mind, with your imagination, and then also,
yes.
yeah, for me it's tricky. Like I know Boulder is pretty, you know, I don't know how Boulder is, but it seems pretty left leaning, and Charlotte is that way as well. So it depends on how I'm feeling, where I'm at. Otherwise, I just blow the nose, you know, and just kind of, I mean, the mask is not for me the hill that I die on. Like, I'm not going to take that vaccine, even though I think if it, you know, were literally forced on me, I think I would be fine. But, and I think that we all would be.
Just calls it the action vaccination. No, the action vaccination. Action vaccination. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, yeah, like that. But for me, like that is more the fuck no. Like I will not be doing that, you know, and I will not assimilate with society, or, you know. But I have to be feeling really confident and clear to be able to, like, you know, go into a store not wearing a mask. And I have.
Me too. I've got to set my mind, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's good. I think that's good. I think you know, it depends. Like, it depends on the day. It depends on the time. Like, and even if I do, like I say in my head, like with my intention, I do not consent to this, you know. In Asheville, actually, they told me to pull it up over my nose. I was like, oh my gosh.
Wow. How many people do walk around it without anyways.
No one.
This is a whole other thing we could keep going on about. I mean, that's just,
yeah. No worries. I mean, we don't have to.
Oh no, it's, I'm just thinking, I'm just frustrated with the whole thing because it's like a total inversion for so many reasons of everything that we've, like, how come suddenly, if you have no symptoms, if you're healthy and all that stuff, you've got to protect yourself from others. Whatever happened to the earth is what it is, and there's no reason to be afraid of living your life and going about there. And if you have reason to think that you're compromised, then don't go into that environment. Stay home.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're not getting any disagreement from me, you know, but the programming is, there's a couple of them. There's like, you know, don't trust yourself, trust the experts, trust the science, believe in science, whatever. Right. And then there's also humanity is the virus. That's another really toxic program that I've noticed. And with all the climate change rhetoric and stuff like that too, it's humanity is the virus, and it's us. Like, we are, you know, like, and I don't know about you, but like, I would never sign on for the destruction of our planet. I would never, you know, consciously agree to, you know, the way that operations are conducted here to mine her resources and all of that. Like, I never, you know, but.
And even if, you know, someone who believes that way should recognize that, you know, they didn't do it themselves. It's the, you know, power systems and control or whatever, all that. And so maybe you ought to think about making change there.
Yeah, totally. I mean, but then it's like, that's a whole, it's what I went through in such a short amount of time last year. Like, I would not wish on anyone. Like, it's, and I think there comes a point where like, it's going to be so fucking obvious, but yeah, I unplugged from a lot really quickly. And there were moments where it was very shocking to my body, to my system. And like, and then having like the, you know, I think that there is I'll give myself some credit. Like, there is some level of bravery in being able to say, like, I've been wrong about certain things, I think, because this, you know, and, you know, but I think that's asking a lot of people, you know, so
it is,
it's hard. It's very hard. It's hard to have compassion for people who maybe are, you know, under a lot of programming or a lot of, you know, despite what their actions are towards people maybe like us who are like, yeah, look, we can go outside this cave at any time. You know, we don't have to be in the cave. You know, we can go see the real world, whatever that is, you know, but
Yeah, but that's what gives me the ability to resolve it too, is just understanding that they're running by a program. I mean,
Yeah.
not saying that mine's any better or whatever. We all are, and they're just doing
Yeah.
what they think is best or what they have to do or whatever.
Yeah. And
I'm not gonna blame them.
And it's also like there is so much, nuance. Yeah. Shamanics, I feel bad for myself too. No, I'm just kidding. But
you did it in that was definitely a crash course. And again, I hope we talk again. I really
hope
do.
so too. I would love to talk to you even outside of just broadcasting. I would like to connect, and it'll be good.
Absolutely, Meredith, for sure. Yeah. Thank you. And we will. And as to what you were just saying, and your whole that whole crash course that you did, like when I had my Kundalini experience, I was under the belief, I guess, that I had already done my shadow work and all that stuff, and that.
Oh my gosh,
yeah. That I think that had to kind of ring it out of me. And what I'm getting at is that year that I went through that, up to a year ago this month actually, is when I moved into this place and things started to change in my world. But until then, it was very, 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 very difficult, and life paradigm changing and life shattering and difficult on health and all sorts of things. And I think that maybe people like you and I went through that prior to this or during its starting phases or whatever, just so that we could be prepared.
Yeah.
So we weren't so shocked when everybody else is going through it.
Yeah. And I went through, in levels and phases, like when I was dealing with a lot of like entity attachments and stuff like that. And I think I shared that story with Jerry and Niche, but
didn't even go there today. Oh, dang.
I know. Ahead. Yeah. Dang it. No, we'll get together some other time, and I'll have you on my channel if you want to also. And
oh yeah, sweet.
But so yeah, I think like I was about to be here, maybe where I am now, but I got like ushered into the new cage. We haven't talked about the new cage today, the new age movement.
The new cage. I like that.
I can see how like I was totally like, nope, don't go that way, go this way, and then I was existing in that for a while and kind of like puppeting the like the Abraham Hicks demons, and all that shit, and and was kind of like, well, this doesn't really feel authentic to my experience, and I believe more in integration and wholeness and integrating, and healing and becoming clear in who you are and all that stuff. So that's where I was at when I had that big memory recall experience, which could have been something that like was AI induced for all I know. I don't know. I mean, it could have just been to traumatize me. I mean, that's highly possible, but
oh gosh, that's another possibility and interesting way to go.
Yeah, I considered it. I mean, I think it's probably a little bit of both, but yeah, I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, I think I was just talking about like my involution or evolution or whatever to being like right at the moment where, my memories came back. I was doing some good work. I wasn't like, but I was just like unaware of like the levels within this reality, and I was confused about where I was. I think that's like that was like it was a big shattering. I was like not okay. Oh, I was not okay, Yogi Chander. I was not okay. I was fucked up.
Did you have any comfort?
Any what?
Comfort.
Not really. And it's okay because I found my own comfort, and I eventually found my way through it, but no, not really. I mean, I was trying to talk to people who I was friends with at the time, and, there was a lot of handling, and no, it's not that way, it's this way, and oh, that sounds very fear-based, and, and this and that. And I think, it can't have been an easy process for them either, because I was pretty hysterical. So I know not everybody can like hold space on that level, which is fine. And I'm fine with that. But I think, no. So the people that I would normally go to for comfort, nope. my mom actually helped me a lot, interestingly, and, found Kimberly McGeorge through Lauda Leon's dream lucidity class. And she just has really helped me to catalyze, but obviously animals, plants, like, these are the things that, if there was any comfort, it was my garden, it was my cat, my roommate was really supportive too, actually, that I was living with at the time. So that was really nice. And I'm so grateful too for that. So
That's awesome. People out there, whoever is tuning in, I don't know if you know, because we really didn't get this show, but I mean, it's not just like what Yogi Chander went through or what other people have gone through. I mean, it's another level of things that you had to face, and that you had to, like, the value of or the role that your relationships played in some of your things, and like some of the the things that you learned that were empowering, and also just kind of really just raw and whatever else. It's like, it's a lot that you're talking about right there. It's more than what a lot of us are grokking, unless you've heard some of her story, and I have more to hear too. But it's like, damn, and you still have such a, I mean, I don't want to say it's not new agey. It's I was gonna say positive, but I don't know what the word is. You just have a genuine outlook, and it's like you don't seem to let that. You're not damaging other people because of what happened to you, for sure.
Oh, but maybe I did, though, in the early process of, I was probably like, because I think too, what I thought was visions were actually like memories of simulated experiences, so I was confused. And, I'm sure that and that's the thing, it was probably really messy. So it couldn't have been easy for them to interface with me either, in that space. And yeah, and I can feel, all different kinds of ways about that, and woulda, coulda, shoulda, but it doesn't really help me, to do that, or anyone. So
no. Yeah. Self-flagellation almost, and it's just not helpful. It's
not
necessary. It's hard.
Yeah, but it's good, because I think, the work that I had been doing, like, through mostly stumbling and falling into, toxic romantic relationships, also super fucking set up, by the way, like, like, wow. Those experiences, I was learning that Saturn and Capricorn lesson of sovereignty, of as best as I can, to what degree sovereignty is a myth, I don't know, but definitely was like, yeah, working in the direction of just believing myself, and so that is probably, the biggest thing was I never left my own side. And, it took a lot of work to get there, to the point where I'm like able to, just, so I give myself credit for that, for the work that I did prior to, having the rug ripped out from under me or whatever, like thinking that, I don't know. So, yeah.
No, it's important to say that. I mean, there's a foundation that was laid there that was valuable, and no matter what the experience was, the things you could blame yourself for, and whatever else, and then the things that you did really well, all that stuff is just like, it's just part of what brought you here, right? Sort of.
Yeah, absolutely. And here we are. And now that's brought me into spaces where, I'm talking to, I'm participating in like Emily Moyer's Patreon, and like those chats are so enriching. And, and then talking to people like you and people like Niche, and, and Kimberly McGeorge, can't, gosh,
I don't know her. I'll write her down too right now. Really,
yeah, she's pretty fucking amazing. Like, she's really helped me to catalyze. Like, it was her just interacting with me as a friend that helped me to get to the experience that I had with my soul family. Regardless of how handled it was impactful to me. And
yeah, that's beautiful. Speaking of Patreon, and I want to be a part of Emily's Patreon community too. That's interesting. She and Niche are among the tops that I want to start. I'm not a Patreon contributor right now to anybody, because sure. I literally can't be, but it's important. Yeah. I think that the people that we listen to, not only is there a lot more that's available, when you're in those communities, there's a lot more depth, a lot more participation and opportunity to participate and learn and share. But it's also helpful to help support the creators out there. And I have a series of videos I'm doing pretty soon about that. But that being said, we do kind of wrap up here pretty soon. Do you have a Patreon yourself?
Yeah, it's patreon.com/Meredith'sLuckyStars. And at the beginning of the month, if you join the top tier, I will send you your transits for the month and like what's going on, and no pressure. I mean, Oh, and I am doing a class on energetic hygiene and self-defense starting on Sunday, April 4th. And it's going to be a 3-week class, and there's a sliding scale. If anybody wants to join, I would love to have you.
That's huge for anybody. Those topics are amazingly important right now.
I just basically throw a bunch of tools at you, and you get to kind of have creative licensing over them to see what resonates, what sticks, and then you can use them in your practice. So
I'm putting the your Patreon link up there as we're talking.
Thank you.
I wish that we were in physical proximity. It'd be so fun to do like a full around self-defense workshop kind of thing with spiritual and physical and all that.
Absolutely.
Stuff. I'm going to paste your Patreon right there in the chat. And
thank you.
Yes. And what else? Also visit you at meredithluckystars.net.
Yeah.
And also your YouTube. And I don't know, anything else that you're what are you enjoying being a creator, or do you want to what are you doing next as far as this stuff?
Oh gosh, I mean, I just take it day by day, like if I have something that comes to me, I'll share it, or, maybe might interview some people, and I don't know, I'm just winging it,
Cool.
But the last thing that I would like to say is thank you so much for having me. This has been a beautiful conversation, and I would love to talk to you again, not just on here, but maybe, off record or whatever.
For sure. Absolutely. We've made a good connection here, and thank you everybody for being a part of this. It's awesome to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Meredith, I can't thank you enough for being here. Thank you for thanking me. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for thanking me, for thanking you.
And so on and so on and so on and so on. I suck really bad at exits and things like that, but I just
stop saying that about yourself.
I'm pretty good at entrances, but exits, I'm a little awkward. I'm working on it.
It's like, okay, bye.
That's a good way to put on the smoke bomb and just go.
Yeah, well, to everyone who is listening, I hope that you have a great day, and that you're taking care of yourself, and that you're loving on yourself, and that you're enjoying time with friends and family and animals and all that.
Yes, all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Especially the animals, I think.
Yeah, I know. Especially animals. No animals.
All right,
in the room at the moment.
I'm going to end the broadcast in just a moment, and then you and I can chat for a moment off stream. And everybody have a most beautiful day, and be on the lookout for more stuff from Meredith and from Yogi Chander.
Yeah, thank you.